All right, we have multiple pressing stories to get to. Stories that include Trump rocking Washington, D.C. again with his latest nominations, announcing RFK Jr. to head up Health and Human Services. That's two former Democrats joining Trump's cabinet. No longer the Republican Party. I don't know, maybe we should rename it the American Party. And the establishment acting out, lawyers at DOJ threatening to quit en masse if Matt Gaetz becomes Attorney General, and top officials at CDC and FDA yesterday telling CNN they plan to resign if RFK becomes their boss. Thank you. We have the details, and we're hearing that the mother of all bombshells is about to drop soon. Who will replace FBI Director Chris Wray, who already hinted he plans to resign? And even if he doesn't resign, Trump World saying President-elect has all intentions of replacing Wray as quickly as possible. And more stories from around the country. But before we get started, thank you for liking and sharing these videos. It really helps out the channel. And consider subscribing so you don't miss these regular updates. Donald Trump carrying out a shock and awe campaign yesterday with three of his most important and controversial picks yet, after announcing Tulsi Gabbard for DNI, Matt Gaetz as AG, and then dropping a stun grenade on Washington, D.C. by announcing RFK Jr. to be the new head of HHS, Health and Human Services Director. Posting on X yesterday, I am thrilled to announce RFK Jr. as the United States Secretary of Health and Human Services Director. For too long, Americans have been crushed by the industrial food complex and drug companies who've engaged in deception, misinformation, disinformation when it comes to public health. Mr. Kennedy will restore these agencies to the traditions of gold standard scientific research and beacons of transparency to end the chronic disease epidemic and to make America healthy again. Maha. The status quo, people, is over. A new period, a new age of transparency and accountability is here. And just watch as establishment Washington has a conniption over this.
And we haven't even gotten to Tulsi Gabbard potentially having access to national security information. And Russia loves it, loves her.
And I actually think almost more than Matt Gaetz, Tulsi Gabbard's appointment is devastating. And Tulsi Gabbard's nomination, as much as she says that she's an anti-war person, she's not.
Yeah.
She supports very pro-war individuals,
including
abroad.
In Syria.
And let's be very clear, a Tulsi Gabbard nomination is a pro-war nomination globally. Point blank, period.
As is Donald Trump.
Clearly, Tulsi Gabbard has taken actions and made statements over the past several years that really raise serious questions about her common sense, her judgment, as well as her political sympathies.
This is someone who, is known to be a white supremacist, known to be an extremist.
Being intellectually honest, there's really no good reason why Bobby Kennedy, RFK Jr., should be HHS secretary. An advisor, a confidant, somebody who talks to the president and advises, but there's no managerial experience in his resume. There's nothing that says he is qualified to do this job that is in charge of the health of all of us, all these different lanes. If he has views and has insights around food sources, around vaccines, then those should be given in advisory roles.
Why?
Because
what were the qualifications of the previous ones?
Well, I think it's important to always remember that you put yourself. Say that again?
What were the management qualifications? I mean, Xavier Becerra.
I'm not talking about the previous. I'm looking forward.
But you're calling into question whether he could actually do this job, and I think it's
absolutely. I think America is now, and I think
it's important to discuss it because Xavier Becerra was just a lawyer and a politician with no management experience.
So does two negatives, two wrongs make a right?
Sylvia Burwell was a Walmart lobbyist. Donna Shalala was a university person. Look,
RFK Jr. is a nut.
Okay, so that's different than what you just said. You just said he doesn't.
And here's the crazy part about this. These picks aren't just the obvious contrarian choices for Trump. You may think RFK, Maha, make America healthy again. It makes sense to put RFK in this job. It makes sense to put Tulsi in the DNI spot. She's thoroughly anti-war, has a deep distrust of our intel agencies. All true. But this duo is there for another reason as well. HHS oversees both CDC and NIH and like 20 plus other departments. both of which are deeply intertwined in the US-funded biolabs around the globe. Remember, Tulsi was the only big-name politician to speak out about this after Victoria Nuland admitted to Marco Rubio in that Senate hearing about the US-funded biolabs in Ukraine. Remember this?
We have a minute left. Let me ask you, does Ukraine have chemical or biological weapons?
Ukraine has biological research facilities, which, in fact, we are now quite concerned Russian forces may be seeking to gain control of.
Here are the undeniable facts. There are 25 to 30 U.S.-funded biolabs in Ukraine. According to the U.S. government, these biolabs are conducting research on dangerous pathogens. Ukraine is in an active war zone with widespread bombing, artillery, and shelling, and these facilities, even in the best of circumstances, could easily be compromised and release these deadly pathogens. These labs need to be shut down immediately, and the pathogens that they hold need to be destroyed. Instead of trying to cover this up, the Biden-Harris administration needs to work with Russia, Ukraine, NATO, the UN to immediately implement a ceasefire for all military action in the vicinity of these labs until they're secured and these pathogens are destroyed.
And if you think this week couldn't get any better, wait till you hear what's coming next. Who will be replacing FBI Director Chris Wray? Appointed by Donald Trump himself after firing James Comey back in May of 2017, this was one of those picks that Trump has been deeply disappointed with the first go-around. He is not making the same mistake again. And there is lots of talk right now in Washington that Kash Patel will be Trump's pick to replace Wray. This obviously isn't confirmed yet. I don't want to step on any announcements, but this would be epic. Kash served on the U.S. National Security Council under Trump. He was the chief of staff to Trump's Secretary of Defense and is also deeply loyal to President Trump. He's on record saying that the J6 committee headed up by Liz Cheney was basically a complete fraud and that she and her other committee members that he believes may have suppressed evidence, that there is just so much more to uncover about J6, the other side of the story that's really never been told. Listen to some of what the hopefully soon-to-be-announced next FBI director has to say about J6. Roll the tape.
That days before January 6th, Donald Trump authorized 10,000 National Guardsmen and women. Multiple people testified to that, including me, in front of committees and grand juries under oath. But the mainstream media hid it, and the committee suppressed Tony Ornato's transcript. And it just came out, thanks to Molly Hemingway, corroborating everything we've been saying. Liz Cheney and Adam Schiff buried this exculpatory evidence of Donald Trump.
And this comes as new info has undercut the FBI's narrative about this, about the J6 pipe bomber investigation. Just the News reporting yesterday, a J6 shocker. Phone companies dispute FBI testimony on this suspect. Key lawmaker reveals the new revelations heighten the mystery and scrutiny of the FBI surrounding one of the most disturbing security failures on the day of the Capitol riot, reporting that the chairman of the House Oversight Subcommittee told them that cellular carriers have told Congress they do in fact possess intact phone usage data from the vicinity where 2 pipe bombs were planted during the J6 incident, directly disputing FBI testimony that agents couldn't identify a suspect because the phone data was corrupted. Of course they said that. A key House chairman tells Just the News. This coming from Georgia Republican and chairman of the House Oversight Subcommittee, Representative Barry Loudermilk, saying this raises a whole slew of questions around the debate that has gripped Washington for nearly 4 years. Why can't the FBI, with so much evidence, so much manpower, identify the suspect who planted those explosive devices at the Dem and Republican headquarters hours before the Capitol was breached? Basically, who planted that device? Why has the FBI failed to tell us who did it? They claim the reason is because of cell phone data around that block at the Capitol being corrupted, yet now apparently cell phone carriers telling Congress that's not true, that they have the intact records and will apparently turn them over to Congress. Well, if Kash Patel is the next FBI director, You could take it to the bank that all the dirty laundry around J6 will be coming out, along with so much more. Here's Kash in his own words, detailing what he plans to do when and if taking over that role. Watch this.
The FBI's footprint has gotten so freaking big, and the biggest problem the FBI has come out of its intel shops. I'd break that component out of it. I'd shut down the FBI Hoover building on day one and reopening the next day as a museum of the deep state. And I'd take the 7,000 employees that work in that building and send them across America to chase down criminals. Go be cops. You're cops. Go be cops. Go chase down murderers and drug dealers and violent offenders. What do you need 7,000 people there for? Same thing with DOJ. What are all these people doing here? Looking for their next government promotion, looking for their next fancy government title, looking for their parachute out of government. So while you're bringing in the right people, you also have to shrink government.
In another story, a lighter story, a funny story, Megyn Kelly yesterday outing Chris Cuomo as a faker, she says, as a phony, after being asked if she believes his 180-degree shift to all of a sudden leaning right is actually genuine. She says Chris Cuomo is faking it because he wants an audience. He's as left as they come, only now flirting with the right because his career is in tatters. Look, Chris Cuomo, he's a chameleon. He'll adjust his beliefs on a whim to fit the room he's sitting in. And right now, he's on News Nation trying to fill that fair and balanced type role there. Clearly trying to rebrand himself after what he did with CNN, pushing the Joe Rogan hoax about horse dewormer, being caught red-handed, faking his quarantine for CNN, pushing the Russiagate hoax, and so much more. Here's Megyn's take on if you should or shouldn't trust Chris Cuomo. Roll the tape.
Chris Cuomo and Don Lemon, these are people whose shows, I don't follow them, but I see their content every now and then on my timeline. And I will say they've become a lot more interesting since they left CNN. It actually seems like, I don't know if this is genuine or not, and I guess that's my question, that they're more open to the conservative side. I actually saw Chris Cuomo give a very good description of why people vote for Donald Trump, that they're hiring a guy to do a dirty job and they don't really care about his, moral mistakes and things like that. Do you think that people like that who leave CNN and then all of a sudden become more fair and balanced, was it CNN that was influencing them and they were just kind of lying because they had to at the time? Or do you think that they are lying now just to try to get a bigger audience?
The latter. 100%. It's the latter. I mean, Don Lemon hasn't really changed his views at all. He's out there saying that Kamala lost because of racism and misogyny and that the country is a racist country. We just ran the soundbite the other day. I mean, he said it on camera. That's how he covered election night, that we have to be honest. It's a racist, misogynist country. He's the same old Don Lemon. Okay. Elon Musk resurrected his career by giving him an opportunity to come over to X and said, welcome, cut a deal with him. Within 24 hours, he blew it by being his leftist self and now is suing Elon, which is the latest in a slew of lawsuits, I am told, Don Lemon has brought against employers. So he's the same old person he's ever been. Chris Cuomo is faking it because he wants an audience. Go back and look at any night on the Chris Cuomo show when it was on CNN. He's as left as they come. He comes from a party and a family of leftists. They're all leftists. Only now do his brother and Chris come out and try to flirt with the right because they both have careers that are in tatters. Chris Cuomo has about 4 viewers who watch him over on News Nation. And he's trying to increase his numbers because News Nation is trying to be palatable to both the left and the right. But trust me when I tell you, this guy can't stand Trump and he can't stand Trump supporters. And I don't care who he says he voted for or how he says he understands Trump supporters. I'll give you one reaction. When I went out and made my speech at the Trump rally, he mocked it. He mocked me for saying that I believe Trump would protect me and American women. So why would you do that? Anybody who actually supports Trump agreed with every word I said, agreed that Trump is the person to vote for if you want the protection of your children. Why would he do that? Because he's bitter and he's sad and he's tired of me attacking him, which isn't going to stop here or anywhere else.
He's jealous.